Hey everybody, how you going? It's Thursday, and oh, I have the wrong glasses on. Oh boy, that's making it hard to see the screen here. Let's traverse over from my outside glasses, my driving glasses, over to my computer glasses, and get this stream started. Welcome. It's Thursday night. I hope that you're all doing well. It is my after-hours stream for me, and for some parts of the world, it's mid-evening, but for me it's my late night stream for the people in the West Coast and the Central Time Zone where I live in to hang out and watch me do some Swift coding. My name is Aaron LeBeau. I'm a developer advocate at Couchbase. Welcome everybody that's showing up. I hope you're all doing well. You're having a wonderful evening. This is a continue on of a series of stream I've been doing on using ChatGPT and GitHub CoPilot to try to build a SwiftUI application. We've made it pretty far here so far, and we were in the middle of trying to cross our next part of the journey. So what are we building, you may ask? That's a good question to ask. We're building an expense report app. In our app so far, what we've done is we've been able to go through and get navigation working. We have this ability to make a user profile, and all this user profile information is saved to a mobile database. The database is based on Couchbase Lite. Couchbase Lite is a SQLite. It's kind of like a document database using SQLite as the storage engine. So it's got some street cred there. It's very efficient. It's pretty awesome, actually. Not just because I work there. I am a developer advocate at Couchbase, so my job to let the mobile developers know about it. But I just think it's a good database, even if I didn't work there. In fact, I picked to work at Couchbase. I could have worked at a couple different places, but I picked going to Couchbase because I really like Couchbase Lite a lot. And that says something about the product when I say I like it, at least in my opinion. I've been doing software development for about 28 years now, give or take a 6 months period, and been doing mobile since 2009, I want to say, when the iPhone, shortly after SDK was released. I did some hacking before the SDK was released. There was a way you could root your phone, it was called. When you jailbroke your phone and you rooted it, you could then get access to be able to push apps up to it. But there was no official development tools, and everything you got online was kind of sketchy. And you had to know how to develop on a Mac in order to develop for iOS because there was no SDK documentation. It was hard, to say the least, and I barely got a table view working without docs. It was pretty hard. I did get like a very simple list to show up of recipes, and you could click on a recipe and get the details of it, and I considered myself a genius of iOS back then because there was no SDK. Obviously, things have changed a lot since then, and now we have a full SDK, and life is pretty good. So let's see here. I think we're going to, so now we got the user profile working. Our next goal was to try to get a list of expense reports showing. The problem with expense reports, though, is that I need some data to display. Otherwise, we're just not going to see anything. And so how I've done it in other apps, and I've written this app multiple times on multiple platforms for multiple companies. I've got this Android version of the app that I actually wrote something called a data generator. And what that does is it generates some data in the database, so I don't have to then manually enter a bunch of data in because I'm super lazy. I just want the ability to have that data automatically there. So this afternoon, that's what we're working on. We're probably going to continue our adventure there and see if we can't get a data generator working, and then get the ability to go through and run the data generator and generate some data. And then we can start working on the expense report screen. So for that, let's take a look at some SwiftUI code here first to start out with. So I am using CoPilot for Xcode. That is a plugin for Xcode that allows you to use GitHub CoPilot with it. I am on Xcode 15 beta 3, so I'm on the latest beta, and macOS 14 beta 3. So this is all the latest betas. Just to let you know, get you up to speed on that. That means if you do go to GitHub and try to download this code, if you don't have the betas, it ain't going to work because this is all based on iOS 17. So we should be on beta 3 here. Yep. All right, perfect. So what I wanted to take a look at was the developer view at this point in time. Right now we just have some text. Let's make sure that our app still runs and that we can go to developer view and see that there's nothing there. All right, let's see here. So we just have developer view, and that is not a great place to be. Well, it's got nothing, right? This warning keeps coming up, but if you click on it, you'll see that the user's variable is actually used, and so it's like the linter that they're using for that isn't working right in the beta. Not sure, but randomly I get some warnings that aren't real warnings, and so I should probably file a bug for those eventually, but it is a beta, so that's coming expected. All right. So if we look here, our let's get rid of our authentication service right now and take a look at our developer view again. So our developer view, we need to be able to do some stuff based on people interacting with our developer view. And right now, it's got nothing but some text. That ain't gonna work, right? So what can we do? Well, you know, the most popular thing we could do is a navigation stack, right? Because we're gonna want to basically navigate to two different things based on that. But this is going to require some knowledge of how the main app works. So in the main app, what we have is we have something called a navigation split view. Okay, and to show this off, we probably have to look at the iPad, because on the iPhone, it just looks like a normal iPhone app, and that's how navigation split view is supposed to work. You're supposed to just have a regular app. If you click the button here, you can go to and see all your different options. This is kind of like the mail app, but if I go to expense reports, you just see this, and if you click further, it'd go into a detailed view, right? If I were to click on an expense report here, for example, right? To see this fully in action, though, I'm using 3-column. And the only way to say 3-column really in action is you want to run it on an iPad. So let's do that. Let's run on an iPad. So I'm going to grab my iPad Air and run it there so we can take a look at this. We have to understand this, because if we're going to make some plans, we have to think about this long and hard how we're going to do this. I like to plan before I write any lines of code whatsoever. I like to have a pretty good idea what's going on in the universe. It makes me feel more comfortable about the situation. I'm going to instantly flip my iPhone or my iPad over here, because most people run it like this because they have a keyboard attached. So let's see here. We should get our iPad up. We're going to log in. And we should see now that we have our 3 navigation columns. We have, this is called a sidebar. This is called our content view. And then over here, it's called the detail view. And when you get a detail, we tell the detail to draw something. Now you can see it. There's a very thin line right here. And that thin line is telling us that's the difference between the content view and the detail view. So when the developer view comes up, we want to have some buttons here that says things that they can do. And then when they click on one of those buttons, we want to have a piece of content over here tell us what it's doing. And so we do our data generator, right? We would like a button here that says, hey, let's generate some data. And then when you click that button to generate some data, we should basically be able to go over here and get a detail screen that basically says, oh, this is how much data was generated. And that, I think, would be a better user experience for people so that they understand what's going on here. We should also probably have a data view here. I'll call it like a data detail view or something like that. And the goal of the data detail view would be to tell somebody, hey, this is the information about the database. Like, you know, how many records are in the database and all that kind of crazy stuff, right? We want that. So we want to basically modify this developer view then and put a couple of buttons in it, but we need to put it inside of the navigation stack. Now, on top of that, the interesting problem is going to be is we need to send a message to the person that renders these things that says, hey, run the developer detail view. Okay, because if we don't tell the sidebar that kind of runs this, or the main app, the main view, then it won't know to draw the developer detail view. Okay, so that's what we're working on here. So we're probably going to need, we already have this navigation selector service. We're probably going to have to modify this navigation selector service to kind of do that. So let's see here. Let's start out by saying that we need a new view, and we're going to call this new file. We're going to do a new view here. We're going to say developer, well, it's not a developer. This would be data loader view. This will be the view for loading data, right? So we're going to make that view here. Let's go ahead and pop this in. Now we have a view called that, and we'll just call this data loader for right now. And what's, in the sake of being just trying to get things working, let's go back to developer view now and make a couple buttons here, right? And so what we're probably going to want is some kind of vertical stack. And we're going to just say our VStack here. And I think we want to do, they should be centered by default, I want to say here. Let's just do 2 buttons. Button, and we'll say action. And then we'll say the text is going to be, we'll say, and then we'll make another button just like that. Oh, we have a style of the buttons. That's right. Let's go to the main view. And there's a style that I wrote for the buttons that we can basically inherit or call. And we call that, it'll give us a red button that looks like our theme that we have here. So let's go find our button here. And here's our button style glowing button. So let's grab that. So we can put our button style on our developer view button here. Button style growing button should grow and shrink, and then we want another button here, so let's make another button, and we're gonna make that other button called we'll call this database info information. All right, we got 2 buttons now in here. We want these with, let's put padding in there. And can we put a title? Navigation title. Let's say title equals, and what's it saying here? I don't think I need title. I just need to put a string in there. And let's see what happens here. See if this works. I think what's going to happen is the title is going to be too big, and I probably need to tell the title style to be different. Let's go here. Let's go to developer, and yeah, so see it's really big, and these are not enough pad in between these. Ooh boy, those are pretty. Yeah, those are too close to each other to say the least. You'll never be able to tap those two. So it's just let's see here, bottom. We're gonna say comma. Try 100. No, I could try canvas here. What's going on here? Yeah, see, it's actually going to keep coming up with random errors, and then you click on them, and then the errors just kind of go away, or warnings. If I click on this and go find details, and then it goes away. It's really kind of dumb. Canvas has not been working for me at all. And I've followed a couple of other streamers, and Canvas has not been working for them either. So I'm pretty sure this is just going to bomb. And I have a preview there, so I know that it's not the preview function that's causing it. I don't know if it's because the preview macro is broken. Maybe that's it. But I can just tell you that in the past I've tried to use the canvas, and it has been sad panda. There has not been the support that you really want. Oh, this is actually working though. Okay, hey, well look at that, folks. The canvas is actually not crashing tonight. Oh, hey, I'm getting some kind of break here, right? All right, well that's definitely not what we want. Well, this is just giving us padding at the stack level. We want a padding after this. So padding. Well, we don't want padding. We want. No. Padding. Let's talk. Let's do bottom. 300. Ooh, that's way too big. Is 100? That's still too big, really. 80? Come on, canvas, redraw. It's only 80 now, dude. You're being a little bit dramatic here, canvas. 50? Do like that more, but 80. I feel kind of comfortable with 80 here. So the navigation title, there is a style for this. Style, is it? Navigation bar display mode, and I think instead of automatic you can change it to be inline, and I think that will make it smaller if I remember right. Let's see what happens when we render now. See if this works. I'm pretty sure that will make the navigation title smaller. Yep, see, so it made it smaller. Oh boy, that's a lot of spacing on the device though. I kind of went too close to the sun, I think. I think that's too much spacing now. I think maybe we go back to 50. That felt more natural. Actually, I know the perfect number. I think it's 44. You're probably going to say, why 44, Aaron? Well, I think a cell is either UI table view cell default height. I think it's either 44 or 45. We looked this up a couple nights ago. It's 44. So I was right on 44. That is the old school height of a UI table view cell. And that is the spacing that most people are used to seeing then in iOS applications that use UIKit. And so anytime I have to space items, I usually use 44 as the height because that is what your brain is used to seeing on an iPhone with older apps. So there's some logic to why I did that. Believe it or not, there is some logic to this. Let's see what's going on here. So let's take a look here. I think that spacing is going to look a lot better now. So let's see here. That's better spacing. I think we can live with this. And we can click on our buttons and they kind of grow to show us that we clicked on it. So now that we've clicked that, though, we need to do some stuff here. Oh, we should check iPhone real quick. Right? We've got this looking pretty good on the iPhone, but we got to go back to iPhone and make sure that the iPhone experience is not broken. Let's go put CoPilot away here. Bring the iPhone simulator back up. Here we go. iPhone, let's see what happens with you now when we go ahead and click developer. That's not bad. I can live with that. I really can live with that. Okay. We don't do anything though. Oh, that's not very useful, right? And once again, look at this. Now we have like an error here that goes away. Xcode, your beta, not very good. Give me some details on this. No, okay, turns out it is used. Never mind, nothing to see here. Moving on. All right, let's see here. So, what do we need to do next? Well, let's get rid of the canvas because I don't think we need this for a little bit here. And we need to pass in some state to the developer view so it knows about some things. Most notably, our navigation selection service. All right. Navigation selection service should have just a selection here that says which navigation it was selected. We're going to modify that to add another navigation selection to basically go through and be able to tell us when this uses Combine, and so this is kind of like a messaging framework that's built into iOS that you can use. We're going to use it to tell us what in the content view has been clicked on, and so that way we can tell the main view to start switching things. So that's our next goal, right? So to do that first, though, we have to tell developer view about that. So inside of our main view, I should probably explain this a little bit because if you're new to the stream or something like that, you probably don't understand, or even if you've been watching the stream, you probably not completely understand this. Our app runs off of the expense reporter app. Okay, this is where all the magic happens. Main view, there's only two ways you can get into the app, either through the authentication view, which validates your username and password. And if you're a valid user, we check that here, then we bring main view up and we pass 3 objects down into it. This is our version of dependency injection, basically. We're using a poor man's version of dependency injection. We're not using a third-party framework because really for this app we don't need that because we could just use the built-in stuff, something called environment objects. And so we basically just make a state object, we pass it down, and we pass the same reference down to each one of our views. And as long as we use these environment objects, technically speaking, they should be only in memory once. And since they're from the main program running, they should be the same reference to the object from anybody that gets past that environment object. Okay. So in main view, we're already passing down the database manager, the authentication service, and the user profile service. So navigation then happens in main view. So if we go to main view here, let's take a look here. And in main view, we should see that we start a navigation service here, okay? So now there's a couple things we need to do, though. We'll need to make this a state variable. Technically speaking, we don't, but it's better if we do. And in state, as simple as just putting that in. We want to keep track of the state. We're going to keep all of our state variables together to start out with, okay? And now that we have navigation menu service as a state variable, which is not required, but I think there's a better way to do it, we can pass it down to all the views that we click on. And this will allow us to do some manipulation of things. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the section where we actually show content, okay? Here's our content view. So the navigation view here, if we take a look here, we have a split view. And the very first thing in the split view is always going to be something called a sidebar. And so that's where we have our navigation split view here. We're going through, we're making the navigation menu. This is what makes that menu we see when we call up the sidebar. And then what ends up happening here is after that we get, and this is our button for logout. And then once we get there, we get our content view. This is where it's going to be in the middle of those 3 panes. And then we have something called detail view, and that's what's going to be on the last pane. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to tell developer view about this environment, this environment variables. Okay. So what we could do is we could say environment object, and we could pass it navigation service. But we need to tell developer view that it needs to take one of those. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to just grab this right here. And we're going to go into developer view, and we're going to make a reference to it. And that's pretty easy. So we just kind of go up in here. We say this, but instead we're going to say environment object instead of state object. Environment object. And so now we have that set. We just need to go back to main view and pass the reference to navigation service. Oh, and we don't even need this equals. We can just say this. We just want to say service here. And let's get rid of our, what's wrong here? Generate requires navigation service conform to observable object. It does. No, well, does it? Navigation selection service. Yeah, it does. It does. Don't talk smack to me right now, developer view. You don't know what you're talking about yet. Now the problem though is I don't pass it in, right? So I've got to go back to main view and solve that problem. So if we go back here, we need to go in and say we need to pass that in as an environment object here. So now we're just going to say navigation menu service equals navigation menu service. And that should be it. And based on that, this should start to work. So let's see here. What's going on now? Instance of this requires to conform. It does conform to observable object. Let's go look at developer view again. Environment object. Navigation menu service. Oh, it's navigation selection service. Oh boy. That's my problem. I'm typing it in wrong. Navigation selection service. Navigation selection service. There we go. And then we did it wrong in main view. I gotta tell it this is navigation selection service. Navigation selection service. There we go. Oop. Okay, so I'm going to say navigation selection service. There we go. So now developer view should know about this. Let's see here. What's wrong now? It says I don't need the label for it. Okay. Sure, Xcode. So we'll pass it down. What do you mean? It's right. Do I not have navigation selection service in here? I have navigation menu service. Did I basically refactor this and then forget to define it here? Let's go back to main view and take a look at this. Do I use navigation selection view here at all? I guess I don't, so we'll have to make it here. State bar navigation selection service, and this is going to equal a navigation selection service, and it should handle when things get selected. And I think we'll have to refactor this eventually to handle our current selection code. No, that should be handled by the navigation stack now I think, but I don't think we need to do that. But this will handle for us whatever's on the detail. Well, what's going on here now? Now my universal control's not working again. Come on. Let's see here what's going on here. Universal control's not working again, so let's see what's going on here. I use that because I'm streaming from my MacBook Pro to my Mac Studio. And so, because I don't want to put the beta software on my Mac Studio, so that's how it works. And how you can do this is that there's an option in here to mirror, or I don't want to mirror extend. I want to run universal control on this. So let's go to advanced, turn universal control off, and save it, then turn it back on. There we go. And you should hopefully see it. And now we should be able to move the mouse back and forth again. Yeah, so this is randomly been baking in the beta. I use universal control a lot, so I just basically go between my Mac Studio monitor and my MacBook Pro monitor, and the mouse will automatically move for me. But that breaks, and then you have to go turn it off, turn it back on, and it works then for a while, then it breaks again. So all right, let's go back to our navigation service selection. So this is actually called, let's say, navigation. This would be the content selection. So we're going to say content selection, and it's a navigation menu item, and navigation menu service get default. Let's see what that does. Navigation menu service, here we are, and that should get the expense report. That's the default one that comes up. That's fine. We probably need to make, so we can't put it in this list here because this would be, this would cause the navigation menu to start drawing. And that's not, that would draw them on the main navigation menu. We don't want that, that's bad, right? So what we wanna do is we wanna be able to say that there's some statics that we have for this. And we'll say that this is a, let's just say static, trying to think of how I want to handle this. That's the easiest way to handle it. Ultimately, what I want to do is be able to get, I think we have an enum. Do we not have an enum for each one of these? I think it's a navigation menu item. There's a, all right, so here we go. So we see we have database information, and then we need case database, or data generator. And so what we could do is we can use this routable view to basically say, you know, hey, if this clicks, route, you know, this is what's selected. And then based on that, we can kind of make a decision what to do on that. All right, so let's see here. So what that means, though, we need a navigation item for both of these. And we'll need to probably make a separate list for these. So let's say, we'll say let detail routes equal routes. And this is going to be an array of navigation menu items. And we're going to say this is equal to, and we'll make a new array for these. And now we can just borrow our code up here. And we're going to say this name is going to be called database information. And we'll say routable view is going to be not employee profile, but instead this will be, this is going to be database information, right? So that'll be our first item in the array. And my headphones are going dead. Do I have my AirPods? I do. I would like to listen to some music. Someone swap out my headphones here for my AirPods. So we can, I listen to tunes while we're coding here. So let me just take these off real quick. And I need to mute this, otherwise you're gonna get double music here right now for just a second, and I apologize for that. While I get my cables sorted out here, where is my cable for my headphones to charge? So let's get those charging so they're charged by tomorrow. I'll get these in, and you won't hear double music anymore. So let's see here. Get our AirPod Pros in. We'll swap music over to these instead. So let's see here. Connect, please. All right, we're back in business here. So that quick. So apologize for the headphone swap here. Let's see here. So as we were doing here, we're going to make an array of navigation menu items to handle. And this would be the data generator. And so now, and this will be routable view to, we'll call this, this is the data generator view. And then we also need another one of these to basically say, this would be a report detail. Or expense report. So this would be the actual expense report detail that you go to. Well, we'll just call this expense report detail. And then we'll just say that this is going to be expense report. So we have expense reports, expense report, and then the editor. So this will be the actual expense report itself. What else do we have? We really haven't gotten to anything else yet. So I think that's a good place to be for our 3 array items. Now I'm going to use FS Symbols Viewer. There's a program that you can download for the symbols that allow you to view all the symbols, so you can find an icon form that you like. And that's a free download from Apple. It is the FS Symbol Viewer. So right here is our FS symbols. I'm using the beta because, of course, everything's beta on this machine. Why not go just all in on that, right? So we have a data generator and then database info. So let's start with, see if there's a database icon in here. No, there's no data icon in here. Let's say file. Report. Let's just start information. Info. There is an info icon here. So it's an info square I like. So I think we'll just do info square for the icon there, even though it shouldn't be used, just in case I decide to use that. Info square is what it's called. Info.square. And then we can just say, that looks right. Our data generator, we need to find an icon for that, just in case we decide to use icons. So let's see, what do we have for the word gen? I think these are just generations of things. None of these really look right. Let's do arrow. Let's take a look at our arrows here and see if there is. Looking for something that I can use that kind of depicts that I'm going to generate some data. And there's probably nothing in here that's going to be what I kind of want. So it's not a big deal. I think we could just use we'll use this one here. I don't mind this one. Oh, that's a clipboard icon though. Let's take a look here. I don't mind that one. We'll just use this one. I don't want to waste a huge amount of time looking for icons here. We just need to grab something so that we have a placeholder so this isn't using the person icon. So let's see here. Let's just go here. And that will be that. And then an expense report detail. Well, we can find the currency icon and use something along those lines. Let's see what's available in currency. So let's just go back here and say cur. What do we have here? We have, we'll just use this one here. And that should get that code done. Now if I decide to use icons on my buttons, which they look cute when they do that. Hey Mono, how's it going, bud? Welcome to the stream. Hope your Thursday night's doing well. We're gonna code here for a little bit longer. We have we got another person in the community here that I follow on Discord. You can find the Discord links by going to my Twitch profile and look under my section for well, it's Friday there. Oh wow. I keep forgetting you're in Australia, then I'm assuming. Is that correct, Mono? New Zealand. Duh, I see NZ now on the last part of your name. And so I'd have to say, oh, Australia, okay. My wife actually, as a lawyer, she studied abroad when she went to law school, and she studied for a year in New Zealand. And she said I would be scared to live there. And she kind of ended it like that. I have a deathly fear of heights. And she said I would be miserable in New Zealand because she said there was a lot of bridges you had to drive across that did not look like they were very stable. And I was like, I probably would not like that then at all. That sounds scary. So I think I watched Lord of the Rings movies. New Zealand looks beautiful, but it could be a little like that. Yep. Okay. Well, point taken. We'll be vacationing in Flatland. We're going to Iceland actually in a couple of months here. So I'm looking forward to that vacation that we're going to take. Not many tall buildings though. That's good. I'm not a fan of tall buildings either. I live in Alabama in the U.S. and there's 0 tall buildings. Well, Birmingham has some skyscrapers, but for the most part, we're a pretty rural place where I live at least. All right, so we've got our detail routes here all set up and set to go. So now and these are navigation menu items. So that means now when somebody clicks on this, I can set that and I can respond to it. Have you read up on the new Threads app from Instagram? I sure have. Actually, I just got it on my phone. Where is it? Where is my phone here? It's it's made by the Facebook folks, and you can see it here. There's the app running. I just signed up for it about an hour before the stream. I signed up for it, and I guess it's a Twitter replacement. And all I see is golden retriever pictures because that's what I follow on Instagram. So that's what I get here. I'm assuming that they're using very similar to Facebook's infrastructure that they have, which is really complex. I do know that Instagram was the first app ever written in React. Before Facebook was written in React, they actually dog-fooded the React framework for the Instagram app. So most people I don't know if most people know that or not, but yeah, that was, and then when it worked for Instagram, they knew then they could use it for Facebook. Oh wow! So the Android app's built entirely in Compose, which is awesome. They didn't do in React Native. I can tell you that I know React Native pretty well. I lead a team of React developers at the company I do part-time. I am a developer advocate, but I also am a tech lead. So I run a team of people working on a product I can't talk about because it's not in production. It's not something we've announced yet, but I can say that I do that. And I can say that React on Android runs slow. It's slow. It's really, really slow. Anything that is not native in Android runs really slow. So that means I'm not a big fan of Xamarin. Xamarin runs very slow. It's very complex to get it working good on that platform. Maui is faster, but still has some performance problems it needs to figure out, especially on really crap devices on Android. Flutter runs really good on Android because of the fact that it's using a native library to draw things. It does its own thing. It uses doesn't use Glide. It uses Google's 2 and 3D drive framework for doing that. So because of that, it doesn't use like the native component, just uses its own thing. And so Flutter, Skia it uses. And so because Flutter just uses Skia, it's actually pretty fast. So I could say Flutter on Android is pretty good. I could say Jetpack Compose is pretty good. And I could say Android views are pretty good. And if I'm doing Android, I pretty much try to stick to those 3. I have done quite a few .NET applications with Xamarin Forms on Android, but I could tell you I spend 80% of my time when I'm writing in like Xamarin optimized for Android. It's that bad. So, and even Android native, if you don't, in Flutter, so in Flutter, it uses Skia on iOS also. All the frameworks, any framework it draws on, it uses Skia for it. And I think on web, it's using maybe WebAssembly, if I remember right. But you can write desktop applications in Flutter. It's pretty much is Skia rendering engine is how it draws its native controls and stuff. So Flutter's pretty cool. We're going to do that on the stream. After we get done with this iOS app, we'll write some Flutter and get a Flutter app working. And then we'll move on from there to .NET and take a look at those. That way you can compare and contrast. That's one of the things I want to do is kind of compare all the different frameworks and talk about those. Then we have intelligent conversations saying, hey, look, this is the experience experience each one of these platforms. Which one should you pick? Well, that's up to you, really, when it comes down to it. I'd say pick the one that you can make money at building, because they're all pretty good these days. It's way better than it used to be about 5 years ago for building mobile apps. We'll just put it that way. But we're only going to stream here for probably another hour or so, and one of our fellow coders jumps on usually about an hour of my time, maybe a half hour to 45 minutes from my time. And when that happens, I usually will raid that and then go watch them for a while. So we have a couple people in the community that stream that are pretty great at what they do, and I like to watch them code also. So sharing the love. So I think another 5 may jump on. I think he's usually doing. I do wonder though. I guess threading is using SwiftUI on iOS, maybe. Threads in SwiftUI. Though I do wonder. I guess Threads is using SwiftUI on iOS, maybe. Well, there's a way you could find out. If you get the IPA file, you can tear the IPA file apart by just renaming the file to zip. Once you do that, you can kind of explode it. Yeah, exactly, right? The Threads Instagram app, we were talking about that earlier. If you got the IPA off your phone, you could basically just rename that to a .zip file, and then you could explode out the app. And then if you were to actually look at the binary, the app, if you actually go view the contents of that app, you could then basically see the information about the app. And you can go look in the frameworks folder, and the frameworks folder will have everything that's been linked in, and that will give you your answer. That's usually how I reverse engineer apps. Now, getting IPAs off a phone used to be really easy back when we had iTunes, but in modern day, it's a little bit more shaky how to do that. There's a couple of apps you can use, but all of them seem to be like hacker / don't seem to be that safe to run. Let's just put it that way. Not a fan of getting IPAs anymore. There's a couple open source tools that you can use from the command line to pull apps from the App Store. You can get those on Homebrew, and that's another way of doing it. My guess is they're probably using SwiftUI. Or a combination of UIKit and Swift if they're using native stuff. Let me just look here and see if I can look in. That's pretty fluent because React Native generates native code, right? So, but usually there's some hokiness. Oh, I do know a way of finding out. It is not powered up right now. I don't know if it has a charge. I think I haven't charged it yet. My iPad. So here's the thing. If you have an iPad, download the Threads app onto iPad. React Native does not have support for 3-column and for split navigation split view. That just does not exist in React Native. So if you download the app onto an iPhone, or excuse me, an iPad, and the app draws natively, and you see like it has a content, the detail view, that is a native app. If you download Instagram onto an iPad, you'll find out it's just a big iPhone app because of the fact that React Native doesn't support iPad. And so if you want to really find out the answer if it's using React Native or not, take a look and see if it runs on iPad. If it runs on iPad, that'll tell you. Positive if it runs on iPad, then it's a native app, probably written in either a combination of UIKit and SwiftUI or SwiftUI by itself. That's how I think about things. All right, so let's see. But it is a good question to ask, and I wonder if they've been forth about it. We could ask the Googles, Instagram's thread, what iOS framework written in. That's not it. Well, we know Python's backend, but the front end we know is React Native. Well, threads, we're going to get into some really things where it's talking about application threads, right? So at some point in time, we're probably not going to get what we want. We could go to Wikipedia real quick and see. Someone says it's SwiftUI and Mastodon, but they retracted it, so I'm not sure. Let's see if they have any information here on it. We're looking here at the Wikipedia because we're talking about the Threads app that just got posted. We're seeing if we could tell what UI framework it's using. Boy, this is updated pretty close. I mean, it's July 6th here, and of course it's saying July 7th, so that must be somebody over in your side of the woods must have went through and modified this, because obviously it's not July 7th yet. I don't see anything here. Another thing we could look for, the App Store. So there's no Mac app for it. So usually if it was a SwiftUI, it would be ridiculously simple for them to publish a Mac app version of it, because SwiftUI is multi-platform, right? I'm not sure if it would be SwiftUI then, because honestly, if it was SwiftUI, I would have thought they would just publish a Mac app the same day, because it, it'd just be cross-platform. They could, with very little work, push it also on Apple TV. Honestly, very little work to get it work on Apple TV. Interesting. I think we'll probably have to grab the app, though, if we wanted to find that out through a command line utility. Let's see here. So now that we've got our navigation items, so we have these detail routes that we can use, we can actually go through and use these to our advantage. We could do a where clause to find these. It'd be funny if they still use React Native for iOS but Compose for Android. Well, that's actually Airbnb. If you look at Airbnb, they use React Native for iOS, and they were a Android native shop because they basically couldn't get performance out of it. In fact, that's probably the most famous case I know of, is if you do Airbnb switch from React Native to Android. And this is really famous on the you'll see here that of all the places I know, Airbnb is one of the most famous ones that basically switched from React Native back to native land. They were React for quite a while, and they just had tons of problems with React Native, and decided to just ditch it. And so I know that's very famous. I knew some people that worked there for a while, and that is, I can tell you, of all the things I know, Airbnb is probably the most famous company that moved away from React Native. Used it, it ran like turd on Android, and they went back. And I worked for Ernst & Young, EY, they're a big accounting firm, and we looked at React Native for some of our apps. There were some teams using Cordova, and that's a pile of turd also. I'm not a huge fan of Cordova, unless you're a web developer. But it ran, my experience with React Native is it's very slow. And the development environment's very unstable. And those are two things I can say about it. And I lead a team of React developers, so I can at least say that I know React pretty well enough to be a tech lead on a team that's leading those developers. And I can say that it's React Native specifically can be very finicky and very hard to optimize for. I would rather spend my time writing in other languages, quite honestly, and get better performance. Just a personal opinion. If you're a React Native developer and you like it and you know how to optimize for it, awesome for you, man. That's great. I am not one of those people. So let's see here. Now that we have this, what we want to be able to do is be able to go in, and so this is inside of our navigation menu service. So navigation selection service needs to be able to get those out. So we need to also pass in the navigation menu service to developer view also. Airbnb is one of the coolest companies I know of out there that does cool things. I can tell you their drawing framework, and it always eludes me the name of this. I'm never going to remember it until the day I die. What the heck is Airbnb's drawing framework called? Airbnb animation framework. What's it called? Lottie. Lottie, and you can see I have a link to it already. Lottie is awesome. If you want to do cool things with animation, look about Lottie. It's got a framework for doing any kind of animations you can think of. If you look for Lottie files, these animation files and stuff, there's literally an open source community of like thousands upon thousands of these animations. And it's really easy to get a designer to make these for you. And so we at previous places I worked at, we just had our designers just make Lottie animations for us, and we had an onboard experience. It always looked super awesome because I was using Lottie, and for a mobile developer, super easy to get Lottie into your app and make cool animations look awesome. So because Airbnb gives away Lottie for free, it's open source and stuff. I put Airbnb on the list of they're cool people, just because of that alone. We may even do that eventually here in this app. We may throw some Lottie in it just to have Lottie in it. We may build like an onboarding experience, and when we do that, we can throw some Lottie love in. So this could be the navigation menu service, and this could be a type navigation menu service. Okay, so we're gonna have two environment variables, environment objects in here, not variables. Why does it matter about this now? Okay, guys, you have been a turd tonight about this. Oh, it does not. Do I need it to be an environment? Let me think about that for a second. I don't need messages from it. I'm just using it to store data. It's a factory when it comes down to it. I mean, really, navigation menu service is a factory. When it, I don't need it to be that. So let's remove that requirement. We'll just say that it's a pointer to it, because we'll never be watching for changes on it. And I usually like to put my regular variables below my environment objects. I like the order of environment, state, regular variables. And I'm a stickler about following certain patterns. Makes my code more readable, at least for me, to look for things, right? So I think this is good here. So now what we need to do is we need to get a pointer to this. And so the other way to do that is we're going to pass that down from our main view. So in main view, we already are passing down the navigation selection service. We're just going to add another one, environment object. We're going to pass in navigation menu service. All right. What? We're gonna have to do it in the init then. I'm not gonna add combine to something that does not need it. That is just wrong. And then we just need to do an init method for developer view to do that. All right. So let's just do it in here. We're gonna say navigation menu service, and it's gonna be of type navigation menu service. Self.navigation menu service equals navigation menu service. All right, that should make everybody happy. Let's go back to main view, see if this makes us happy. I think that's gonna make us happy. All right. We have the ability for it now to talk to the navigation menu service. That means in developer view, when we click on one of these buttons, let's see here. Oh, we can just say navigation menu service equals navigation menu service, like that, and that should fix our previewer. Okay. Be happy, please. And let's see, what's the warning about here? Authentication service. We're still getting this warning, and when I click on it, it goes away. Man, Xcode, you're such a turd. You made me fall for that again. I'm not clicking on the warning again. You keep making me fall for your little bug that you have. So let's see here. Let's get rid of a couple of these because we don't need these open now, and we can just basically go in and say, we need to do the following. When we go into developer view, and we go in and we click on generate sample data, we want to first find the button that we're looking. So we would say let selection equal, and we'd say navigation menu service dot detail routes where first where, and we'd say $, what's the syntax for this again? It's where $0 dot routable. Let's accept this. I think this is pretty close to what we want. So this is GitHub CoPilot writing code for us here. So let's see. that is wrong. Let's delete that again and try it. Do not collect go. Do not collect $2. Detail routes first. Then we're going to say where route overview equals database information. Yes. So we're going to first where route overview equals database information. Why is it saying select? What do we got wrong here? Oh, we have an extra one of these. That should fix that. And so now this should be nullable though, because the first may come back with nothing, right? And so our nillable, is that how we say it in Swift land? Let's see here. So if selection first, so we would have to say, we'll say if let selection, and then we can pop this in to say if it's selected, then we're going to say navigation selection service dot content selected equals selection, and magic sauce here, and that should come over here like this, and that should give us the wait, but this is wrong because this is the generate data, so that's the wrong option. It's not database information, it's data generator. And then we do the same thing for the other button here, but we basically change the code. So we can just grab this whole if statement here, copy this, paste it. And the only thing that's going to be different is instead of data generator, we're going to say database information. And that should be the magic sauce of this. So this button, when you click on it, should tell the main view that the content needs to change. And then content can go through and do that. So let's go see if that actually works. So we're going back to main view, because now that we have this, we'd have to tell detail view to do this. So we need to say, let's see here. This is if navigation selection service dot content selection are we setting that? So this is what we should do. Do we set that to default to expense report view? Because if we do, this is going to get a ton easier. Does main view didn't even know about this? Navigation selection service. It does know about it. Menu service, selection services right here. Okay. Put a spacing in here. Find. Let's see where we use it. That's the only third places we use it. So. And what does it say for default again? Selection service. Navigation menu item. Content selection equals navigation menu equals get default. That would be route. Okay. So by default, it should be that. Get default should get the expense report detail view, I think, if I remember right. Right, let's go check that and see what that gets. Well, it wouldn't even know about that. But the problem is that this is content selection, not, and that would be wrong. That's, there should be detail selection. Refactor rename. Detail. And we could just say that detail selection is nullable. Equals nil. And then we need to make another one of these that is actually for content selection. This would be content selection. And this would be not nullable. This would equal navigation menu service dot get default. Right, now this is right. So it's detail selection we're going to care about. Content selection we'll fix later. But detail selection is what we care about right now. We also need to make sure that we update that for developer view. Make sure that we set that to detail selection. Okay, we did. The refactoring worked. All right, so then what happens is inside of detail here, we could say if we'll say if actually we don't even do that. We could do a case with this. We could do exactly what we did up here, because if we think about it, yep, we're going to say switch, and we're going to say this is going to be navigation menu service. Nope, not menu service. Selection service dot, and then now we're going to look for the detail selection, and we're going to say if, no, we just need to come up with some case statements. We're going to set this to default, so we're going to say default to expense report. Then we're going to say case dot oh, we need detail selection dot routable view, because then we should be able to say dot, yeah. So if it is data generator, so if that's our case, we're going to bring up the data loader view, and then we'll say case dot, and then we'll say database information. And did we make the database information view yet? We haven't, have we? But we can just say here. Now we need a new view for that. So let's go through and do that. Make a new view. We want a SwiftUI view. Let's see here. We'll call this database info view. And we'll say instead of hello world, database information view. And we'll go ahead and kick that out. And so that gets that. So now we can basically say, if you go to database information, we'll say database info view. And then we'll say there, default to expense reporter view. We haven't figured out replication yet, so we'll figure it out at a later point in time. For right now, this should get me the ability to test some code here. So I don't like doing things without testing. See, this is... navigation menu service. Wait, what? It is to use. That's used right here. Well, then let me just make it here then, you nimwit. Navigation menu service. Stop being a turd. There we go. Okay. And that warning is not a real warning. I've tried to fix it 100 times. It does not work. Let's see here. So let's go to developer preview and let's go to generate data. So nothing happens. So we did not get navigation to work. So that didn't generate a message. Let's go to iPad and see if it works over there. See if this is because of the fact that the iPhone doesn't have a navigation stack the same way. Is this going to be the problem? So I've done navigation split view before in UIKit. And so my experience of this is I'm writing the code like I would for UIKit. And I did look at the SwiftUI code for this documentation in a previous stream, and it wasn't great. And it made me believe that the only answer was I was going to have to use it like I use UIKit. So let's see what happens if I go to developer. Well, it's still not working. Okay, well, that's good to know. We're clicking this and nothing's happening. So let's see if the event's actually firing. So now we have to figure out like why it's not working. So let's go ahead here and say if action. And we're going to say navigation menu service routes first. And then we're going to say this is equal to this. Navigation service detail selection equals selection. So let's just find out if that's happening when we find database service, database information. So let's go back here. Oh, always, I'm just going to close that window. Let's see here. So the interesting thing is my breakpoint's not firing. So that makes me believe that this if statement's not working. Let's look at a navigation menu item. And nope, that's an employee, that's wrong. Navigation menu item has a routable view. A routable view is an enum, and that has that there. So that is correct. And we should be able to say if we're trying to find the route for this. So let's look and see if this breakpoint's hitting on the action. Go back to our iPad and see what's going on here. Let's see here. We're going to go here. We're going to click on our developer. Click database info. Well, that's kind of interesting. It's not like our if statement's not even firing. We're in developer view. Just an iPhone. See what's happening in iPhone. Why would my breakpoint not even fire? The action should happen. The button was selected, so it should at least generate an event. Developer view. I've got these backwards. That's what's going on here. This is database information. This is data generator, but I've got these two if statements backwards. So this should be data generator. Data generator, and this should be database info. Database. What is it? Data equals dot data database information. All right, there we go. So that fixes that bug, but we still don't know why it's not selecting it. My guess is that detail routes, for whatever reason, is not finding that and its predicate statement here. Okay, so the if statement sits, and so let's look at detail routes and see what it has inside of it. Is this just nil? Let's go to self and see if so we have navigation menu service, detail routes. We have 3 of them. Let's see what ones we have. We should have one that is set to database information. We have one set to data generator, and we have one that's set to export detail. And so the second item in the array should come back. So if let selection equal, do I have a selection or variable set? Nope, so that should be there. If let selection, then we should do some code. And the code we should do is set this. So where 0.routable view, and the where would be from detail routes. We're looking at items inside of it, which would be a navigation menu item. So that's right, equals data generator. And data generator is set right here to this one. So that should work. So let's Let's just do an else statement here. Else print. Couldn't find it in the array. Let's rebuild it. Just do this one more time here. Because now I can just do this print statement and see whether or not that's what's really kind of going on here. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Developer, sample data. So let's go into it. We're into the print statement. Yep. Oh, wait. Now we're getting to the set. Okay, that's interesting. What is detail selection set to? Data generator. Okay, so it's set to data generator. Okay, this is good. So continue. So we know that that's getting set. So is Combine not working? Are we not getting the message back? So let's go back to main view and then see whether or not this happens. If we get this, if we get a message that this changed. That should be observable. And so we should be able to do a switch statement on this and know anytime the detail gets called. So let's just delete the breakpoint. We just want to be able to get this switch and then we'll go through it. So by theory, let me see, who makes navigation menu service? I'm starting to wonder. Main view, does it draw out? Am I running into a state problem here? It could be. Let me think about this for a second. So the way to solve this is the selection service is a observable, and it's set to state. All right, that's a bonehead part on my part here. It's never going to redraw itself. It's not an observable object, so it doesn't know about it. Let's do this. Let's say a navigation selection service. We're going to actually take this out. We're going to keep it. We're going to make it an environment object. And instead, we're just going to say it's of type navigation selection service. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this so that it's managed as an observable from the main report app. So in here, we're going to say that we are going to do a but this is going to be called navigation. This is the menu gate selection service equals. I'm going to say navigation selection service. And then now that we have that as a state object, we can just pass that down to main view. Environment object. We're going to say navigation selection service. All right, that should make it an environment object. That should have Combine be able to listen to events. This is what I probably think is the bug. And so that should run the first time. That's correct, because of the fact that we are rendering the first time. And now if we go to developer view, it should run again, but it hasn't changed. So it should still draw the regular. And then what we should be able to say now is generate sample data. Our event here runs, so we're going to click here. We're cool with that. We're cool for the calculation. And let's see what it thinks it is now. But the iPhone doesn't know how to bring that into the navigation stack, does it? Let's see what the navigation selection service has. Detail selection view is what? It's data generator, so that's right. And so we should be able to then see that this statement's running. So we go through, it should come to this case and it should set it there. It does. But because it's not a navigation link, is that why it's going on? So an iPad, this should work though. An iPad, this should change. So if I believe that the bug is there, this should have fixed the Mac problem, or this should fix the iPad, but won't fix the iPhone, because iPhone doesn't know about the third navigation view. What? Oh man, some of the time this Xcode beta is just driving me nuts with its random errors that aren't real. Let's delete these breakpoints because we kind of know that they work now. And we're just now trying to confirm whether or not our sneaky suspicion is that iPad works and iPhone doesn't. Delete these breakpoints. And continue. Data loader viewer, there it is. So data loader view is actually coming in now, so that we know that this works. So it's working on iPad, but it's not working on iPhone. And that kind of makes sense because over an iPhone, this actually goes to a navigation stack. If I were to go back to expense report, this third view should, well, I don't tell it to do that now, do I? I don't. When we hit this navigation bar here, I don't reset it, so it just knows it's the last one. So database information, this should be there, but if I go back to expense report, it doesn't know that. So that's a bug. So we can fix that pretty quickly here. Let's go back to main view. And so we have to say is if when right here, when the selection equals reports, we'd have to also say navigation. So we have to get, just like we do it in our developer view here, we would have to go do this statement here. And we'd have to do this inside a main view, but we'd have to grab the report detail instead. And so we're going to say if this select if selection equals, oh, we can't do this, let's call it detail selection. Equals, and then we're going to say instead of this, it's going to say navigation menu service. Oh, shoot, I had that right. Detail routes where this is what we need to change. We're going to say, so this would be expense report. And then we're going to say this equals detail selection. And that should fix navigation on the iPad to go back. We're going to swap it back. So now if we do this, hey, what's going on here? Oh, I forgot to close the if statement when I copied it. What do we have now? If what? Is this because we have a single line here? Because it's a view. It always has a return a view. How am I going to solve this? Where do we handle selection at? We handle it up here. That's really hokey, but that actually will fix it. That is hokey as hell. That should work. Oh, we probably don't need the scope lines. That's probably what it's mad about. We should be able to say, we can set a variable. if this equals this, then is that gonna work? I didn't think it was gonna work. How do I solve this? I gotta think about this. Hey, Nick, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the stream. It's Thursday night. We're just doing some coding here. Running into one of those famous SwiftUI bugs. Well, not bug. The way you write SwiftUI, having an issue where I have an event that's automatically firing, and I need to set a value inside of it. But of course, SwiftUI is pissed because it's like, hey, you can't set values in here. This is only designed for drawing code. You can't do this. And quite honestly, that's why logo, when I had the logo, I used a button so I could follow action on it. So if you look at the logo here, you'll see that really it's just a button. And there was a big reason why I made it a button versus just a navigation link, because I needed to do some action on it. I wanted to say, hey, you know, when you do click this, I need to run a bunch of business logic. Technically speaking, when somebody clicks on a navigation menu, I need to do some business logic on it. You know, when I click here, if I click on one of these, I need to do some business logic on it, and that's a problem. Because it's a navigation link, the navigation link is not letting me run an event. And so anytime I try to run code that isn't set in a, that doesn't just return a view, I'm having that problem. Now, this is a good point. This isn't actually broken because my brain is not thinking right. This is what I could do. Is it really this person's job to do that? Report view knows that it's going to need report detail, the detailed report section, right? So what I could do is I could just simply tell report view that whenever it comes up to make sure that the details selection comes up, the expense report view, right? And so what I could do in this world is pass the buck. And we could just say here, we would need a pointer to it because we need to be able to set it. So we'd say navigation, navigation selection service is equal to navigation selection service. Now inside of report view, we got to fix this because report view has no idea what that is. So report view is going to be kind of PO'd. And so we can steal that from developer view though, right? Because developer view knows about it. So let's just go find developer view. We'll see here that we have navigation selection service and we are getting it from here. So we literally could steal this, almost this whole thing, and put that into report view. And the only thing we don't need is the menu service. And then we just need that from developer view. The same previewer. This code right here. And we can just pop it into reports view. That should fix it. Why is it mad here? It does too, it's right here. Oh, it's navigation selection service. Wait. Did I delete the wrong line? Delete the wrong line, didn't I? I did. I don't need the environment object. I need this. Because this is basically doesn't have... Wait. I take that back. I had it right the first... No. Redo. I've confused myself because these are named almost the same thing. I don't need a navigation menu service. I need a navigation selection service. Navigation selection service uses combine. Menu doesn't. So because of that, I can kill the init because all I need is this. And then I just need to pass report view that on the environment object instead. So in main view, when I go to report view, what I need to do is instead of this, I need to set it as a environment object. And that will solve the problem. Environment. I just need this line right here. Oop. Delete that one. That should fix it. Now what should happen? Wait, why is it banned now? I had to only delete a report view. What's it called? Reports view. Ben 0 tonight here with my typos. But I'm happy to see that you're... Nick, how's your night going, man? Did you go to the gym? What's going on with Nick? Let's see here. This still won't fix me because technically speaking what's going on is I forgot to tell report view when it draws to reset the selection. But by theory, this should still work and developers should come up like this. We should see data loader here. And now if we go back to expense report, data loader will still be there. So at least we didn't break stuff. That error is wrong. In fact, if I click on it, it'll go away. And this error is wrong. If I click on it, it goes away because Xcode's in beta and the compiler is wrong about a bunch of things. All right. Let's not cry over spilt milk here. Let's go back to report view and get this thing fixed. So in report view, what we want to be able to say though is that if we init this thing, the minute that we init, we know that the selection item should be set to something different. And we can steal that from... We don't need that. We can just do it like that, and that should be legal Swift code. All right, so we're going to steal the code from developer view. Yeah, I know we need to do something here. We're going to do this right here. So in here, we're going to go into report view. I don't think I need that. I think I can just do it blank like this. And we can say, now if this, find, instead of details route, well no, detail routes is right. We're going to say routable v equals, instead of data generator, we're going to say this is the expense report. And then we just set it there. Is it really need this? Do you really need the function call for it? Navigation. I need both of them. Turd. That's why I need it from developer view 2. Can I just turn that into a static because it's a factory? Got back from the gym. Awesome to hear, man. I'm in shape. It's just because round is a shape. So because round is a shape, technically speaking, I'm in shape. And you can't take away from that from me because I take in geometry class. And I know how round works. So, there's that. Right, let's see here. So what we could do is this, because I'm going to be lazy about this. Static func get detail routes. This is old Java's trick that Java developers would do, and they'd say this would be an array of navigation menu items. This is going to be then return No, I don't want to do that because that is going to get into scope problems here. I just need to pass it properly, like I did in developer view. I'm not going to hack this out anymore. So we're just going to say that, let's go to developer view and borrow our code from there. And we can call this done, like turkey. Let's see here. Let's go to report view. And we're going to say here. We're going to first say here. We're going to delete this, 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 and this. And now we have that. That should work. But now our preview is not going to work because we need to say that this is equal to navigation menu service. Well, then call to that will fix report view. But now the problem is in main view, when we call it, we still have to send down that. So when we call report view, we need to say navigation menu service equals navigation. But that's wrong. Navigation menu service. That should fix it. Wait. Why would we have that in here if we're going to just default to it? We shouldn't default to it. We should default to empty view. And this is going to be empty view, and what should happen is main is if we default to empty view. There we go. Reject, because I already wrote that code. Alright, this should fix iPad. But let's see here. Now trying to figure out how to configure JWT tokens in an app. I'm not sure what you mean by configure it. Usually the UI frameworks that are the frameworks that you use to do authentication, like Azure AD, those libraries will give you the token back, and then you just store it. And then you just pass it to APIs in the header, something called a bearer token. So usually in the header, you'll give it a bearer, and then you'll pass that token along. So usually it's a string. Does that make sense? So you, what authentication provider are you using, by the way, Nick? Yes, I see. Yeah, so the token will usually come by as a string. And there's actually a website. I happen to know a lot about JWT tokens because it's a bane of a lot of people's existence. JWT.io should be a website that if you pop your token in, for example, it'll tell you what the text inside the token is because they're just basically foreign coded. And so the theory is if you call an API for authentication and they pass you back this token, this is the token that you'll get back. It'll be this kind of string. Then you need to store it in your application. Like, for example, in my application, I'm storing the authenticated user in a service that is sitting at the top of the main app in this authentication service. So if I was using tokens, what I would do is instead is this username here, I would actually have that be my JWT token. And it'd be in this authentication service that everybody can call. Because in my main app, I would make sure that it is an environment variable. So I'd set it here as a state object, and I'd pass it down to everybody and as an environment object. That means it's going to be in memory for the entire scope of the main application. Well, now that I have that JWT in memory, and it's constantly saved there, the beautiful thing is that now I can just go into any of my REST APIs that I call, and I add a header and a bearer token to it. And so usually you could just say SwiftUI add bearer JWT token to API call in header. And that's what you want to search for. And this would be the answer to it. So you'll see here there should be, right here it says bearer right here. So you would say in your set value, you would set the bearer, and this would be your JWT token for HTTP header field authentication. So this is what you need to set in your side of your request, and your request is your URL request. You set your token there, and you should be able to call your API, and it should work magic sauce. And I'll put this link in chat. Because what happens is that the JWT token needs to be in the header of an HTTP request. And when it's in the header, what happens is the API server pulls out the header and it checks that token, and it says, if this token's a valid token, I'm going to let you call this API. And if it can't validate that token, it won't even let you use the API. The theory is you want to put in the header because you don't even want the request to run if that token's not valid. So that's a very important thing. So that means the API server also has to know how to authenticate that user to validate that that token's right. So usually what happens is the API server is configured in a way that it goes to whatever authentication provider you're doing and sends the token over there and says, hey, is this a valid token? The API server comes back and says, yeah, that's a valid token. You go, oh, cool, this token's valid. I'm going to let this person in for a period of time. Usually those tokens also have some information in them. One of the things they have inside of them is their expiration. Usually tokens will expire every so many hours, so that's something else you have to keep track of. If the API fails, that means that the user's authentication token is no longer valid. That means you have to go get a new one. And this is some of the reasons why I hate using REST APIs in my apps, and that's why I like embedded databases like Couchbase Lite, because I never have to deal with bearer tokens ever. And Couchbase Lite, it takes all that crap away from me. I really don't, technically speaking, need them, because I'll never make REST API calls in my app. And that is one of the goodnesses of using an embedded database. When you can get away with it, that can sync to the cloud, you take all the authentication games out of keeping track of bearer tokens and this and that. And now I still have to keep track of the authenticated user, because eventually I'm going to have to sync this database to the cloud, and I'm going to have to tell who that person is. But I don't have to use bearer tokens with that. I can use the Couchbase Lite SDK, which is a little bit, I think it's simpler, but I probably, a bunch of REST API people that use REST APIs in their apps would probably say bearer tokens are also easy. They're not wrong. Once you get used to them, it's a pattern. You'll just follow it forever, and that's the only reason I know how to do it, because I followed the pattern for a very long time. So this should fix our app here from a standpoint of our, let's replace this. iPad should be fixed now, but iPhone will be broken. And iPhone's going to be broken because it doesn't know about the navigation stack. Oh, we just bombed. If let... Wait, why did we breakpoint here? Usually this is a bomb. Selection is expense report detail. That's right. We don't have a breakpoint here. Why are you breaking here, app? This is a memory leak. Look at this. Look at the memory go up. Even though it's not reporting it, look at the memory go up. This is some kind of memory leak in the app. Why would we have a memory leak here? Navigation services set. That was very scary. Let's see if that happens again. That would usually be an infinite loop. All right, let's do this. If navigation if navigation selection service dot detail selection view does not equal selection, then make it equal to selection. We only want to change the selection if it's currently not set to that. Doing this in the constructor is not working. We're getting an infinite loop of it setting itself over and over again. Why are we getting Hello World? Let's go back for a second. Why are we getting that? That should be coming up there. Main view. Is this content? Oh, that's content. That's why. This should be report view. My bad. This should be default to empty view. I don't think that's our bug, reports view. But in reports view, we also need to know about this. So we just need this. Well, we can just say delete reports here. Oop. Undo that delete, Aaron, and do this. This is usually legal in most languages. That I can fail through multiple cases. So it doesn't seem like in Swift I could. Doesn't seem like in Swift I can take multiple cases, but I should be able to delete that, and that should work. That should be the equivalent. That's working. Developer. So the problem now is that when I click expense report, I don't have a way to set it back. That's really interesting. When I go back, the title's also not getting set right sometimes. That's because the navigation title's probably not set on report view. And so when you don't set one, then it will just basically inherit from what it currently had previously. And that's a bad thing. So when once you set them in one, you have to kind of set them in all. And that's some old UI kit crap there. That's usually was UI kit having that problem. So normally we'd do something like a VStack here. For right now, let's just do a VStack and then say navigation bar, navigation bar. We need navigation title. We're gonna say title equals. It's gonna be called expense reports, and then we're gonna say navigation bar title display mode, and this display mode is gonna be display mode dot display mode. Inline. That's what we need. That should since it doesn't need title, just takes in a string. That should be legal. That should fix that bug. So now if we go back here, we go developer view, we click on generate some sample data. We'll see here this stuff's changed over here. If we hit expense reports, expense report comes up. If we go here, if we go back, expense report should show up, and this should continue to work. All right. So now the only problem is we have is the true problem with we call a function set detail view void. Can we then say self dot navigation menu service dot first we'd have to get if let selection equal. Oh, we should just steal this from developer view. Let's see here. Where is it? Developer view. I don't want to have to write this predicate code again and get it wrong. Where's reports view? Can I just say if selection equals, and this will be report, expense report. Can I do this? Then can I just call the function set detail file view and not have this do the infinite loop that we had before with the memory leak? Let's see what happens. Memory leak. See that memory go up right here? Even though it doesn't say the number, see the number the call stacks are going in? It's just increasing. We're just going to keep doing this until we run out of memory, basically. This is an infinite loop. So that is killing our app. Even though this is wrong, it really is more than that memory. We're never getting out of that. That's an infinite loop, which means something's going on with this environment object where when we set it, it's an observable, and because it's an observable, we're getting messages back for it. That's why. Because every time we set it, we get a message back for it because we're setting it as an environment object. All right, folks, I think I found the bug here. If we look at this for a second, let's look at main view, our expense report view, right? So we have a state object of here of authentication service, right? It should be a state object. It should keep track of state. It should be the thing that answers when things change. We then pass this down as environment object. If we go back to main view, we store that as an environment object, and that's right. That is 100% right. I think the issue is I'm storing the menu service as... No, it's a state object here also. So that's completely legal. So then both those should be all set as an environment object, right? And we do that here. Authentication, here's navigation selection, it's an environment object. Because all the children should just say it's an environment object that they're getting a pointer to. Then when we pass it down, we should pass it down. So if we pass it down to main view, it should just be an environment object. And as we set these, we just set the environment objects here. And then if we look at employee profile view, that should just say that this is an environment object right here. And so that's right. So why is reports view, and this is environment object? Well, it has to be the constructor. That has to be the reason why. Because I don't set it. I don't do this. Oh. What am I thinking here, guys? This is the answer. What's going on here? What? No. View. It should be on appearing. Wait, is that the view stack? No, the stack closes right here. On view, on appearing. This should be right. We should be able to say... And this should be the same thing as view did appear and UI kit. That should be the same kind of code. Wait, why is not this working? What am I doing wrong here? I'm getting a little frustrated. Makes sense. Let's see here. That's the same message from Nick. Checking chat to see if anybody has any new questions or anything going on here. How's everybody? Nick, you still working on your authentication app? Let's see here. It's almost 11. I'm gonna have to close the stream first soon, but let's see. So SwiftUI, we want to do view on a peer. Let's see what's going on with this. Why is this not working? I want to say on a peer. So I want to say I have a stack. So it's saying the stack on a peer instead of the full view. So it's only when the stack renders. Okay. Okay. I can live with that. Good. So the problem here is I have this on the wrong code here. So it would need to be outside of this. It'd be on a peer, and then we would close that closure out here, and then we would have a closure of that here. That's on the view stack. Why are you saying unappearing doesn't work when value type of some view has no members unappearing? Yes, it does. Unappear. That's why. Well, that makes more sense now. Oh, and then we'd have to say perform, and then we're going to say do that. All right. Let's see what happens here. Cross your fingers. See if we get a memory leak this time. Developer, generate some sample code. That's cool. Go back to expense report. That's not what I expected to happen. Or is it? What is hello view? First, let's put a breakpoint here and see if this is running at all. And then let's see, empty view is hello world, right? We'll just say that this is empty view. And so that way we know who is getting called up instead. All right, so this is a if selection. We have to do this. We have to say if selection not equal to if navigation selection service dot details selection not equal to selection, only then do we set it, because otherwise we will get ourselves into some problems here. Because we only want to set it if it's currently not set to it. If it's already set to it, we're cool. We don't need to reset it because it's a state variable, and that's going to cause that to run multiple times here. So let's go through and see what happens here. Let's go in. What's it currently set to? Expense report. Okay. So okay, that's interesting. If we go to developer, go here, expense report. So now the only problem is when we set it to expense report, we're getting an empty view for some reason. Let's continue with this. So I think that might be a bug in my code for the case statement there. Let's continue this, and we're getting empty view. All right, so that would lead to our main view having the bug now. Let's see here. Let's bring back sidebar. Go into here, find main view, find our details section here, and saying the case should be, because we don't have a case for it. So we'd have to say case dot expense report, and when that case is equal to that, we'd say expense report view. That is the problem. Now if we go to developer, go here, go to back to expense report, there's expense detail view. Okay. Hey man, we're rocking and rolling. Look at this. We got navigation to the point where it's actually working again for 3 panel, no matter what we do here. But now the problem is going to be, it's still broken iPhone. Because iPhone will default to a navigation stack instead of a 3 panel. And there's no easy way to fix this that I know of. Look through the documentation. I've watched some YouTube videos on other people doing this, and like I said, the common thing is that it's kind of the same problem, right? So if I go to developer view and I say sample, it's not going to the detail view, it's not put on the stack, but that also means I'm never going to get back to the details to that because it doesn't know how to navigate. To get back to the navigation menu. So we got to fix some routing here. So I hate to do this, but we're probably going to have to do some platform specific code. Let's start with seeing if we can fix developer view on this. So right here, we say this, and we're going to have to put some comments in here. If iPad or Mac, if iOS. And we're going to need this because we're just going to have to do some navigation stack stuff here. If iPad or Mac, if iOS. All right, so that's the very first thing we need to do is we need to be able to do a platform specific code call. Let's see here. And so we only need to do this though if we're in iOS. So what's our AI overlords that give me the platform definition, see if it knows how to do that. Can you provide an example in Swift on how to check platform to see if it's iPad OS versus iOS on an iPhone? Okay. Boy, that's UI kit. How do we do that in SwiftUI? How do we do this in SwiftUI? I don't want those though. I want the physical device. Because you can't guarantee that on a bigger iPhone, the size classes are different. I know that from constraints. So you can't, yeah, you can't guarantee that that's the case. Oh, that's true. No, that's true. That's true. Here's why. Okay. Our AI overloads are right on this. You have to think about it a little bit harder though. So here's what's going on here. We got to look at the iPad for a second and understand like why it's saying that I'm wrong on this, that you can't just do platform detection. Start out with, that is absolutely right. And I didn't think about this. If I would have thought about it a little bit harder, that is the right answer. So let me just call this up. And let's take a look at our iPhone app, right? So if we go here, we just log in, we're going to get the expense report here by default, right? Well, the problem is if I were to do split view And if I were to bring freeform up here, you notice here, if I just move this over, that's iPad now. Notice it went to expense reports and expense report here, but if I make it bigger, it goes to expense detail. See how it's doing that dynamically? Because it knows how to switch between iPhone and iPad, and it knows how to basically make this navigation stack work on iPad where you're using two applications running at the same time. And I totally remember this now. And so now if I were to kind of squeeze this back over, it would just squeeze back over to the iPhone view. So the problem is I can't do a platform detection for iPhone, iPad, technically speaking. I have to do it based on the view constraints. And if I don't do it that way, then I'm going to run into problems because I won't be able to have side loading, split view here, where I can have two different apps running at the same time. I want that. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I want the true iPad experience on my app. That's going to bust me. So the very first approach of using UIKit is wrong. The better approach is this right here. So that means that we need to grab these two things right here. So let's copy these two things to start out with and go back to our code. And where do we do this? We do it here. So in developer view, boy, we're going to probably, we might have to make some kind of like, struts don't have inheritance. Shoot. I can make a custom view that has these and then inherit from that custom view that has this code. Well, it's not a lot. I'm just looking at, I'm going to have to do this over and over again in different places, this same concept. But is it really bad to have the same type of code? Well, sort of. It won't be exactly the same code. So let's just do this here. Because all I need to know is whether or not we're running on an iPhone or not. Everything else should be fine. So we're going to take this code a little bit. We're going to say in this if statement, we're going to change this around a little bit. We're going to say if we're running on an iPhone, we're going to just do an else here. We don't even have to check it. We're going to make the assumption that we're running on any kind of platform. And we're just going to say take this else out. And now we're going to say if we're running on iPad, we're going to set this. Okay. And this should still work. Oops. And we could do the same code here. What's this? Oh. If. Oh. Yeah, we don't want text. We'll just say print iPhone. We'll fix this in a second. Okay. So we're going to put some comments in here, though. Check if we are running on iPhone versus other platforms. Now we can take this whole entire if statement we have here. And I don't know why this if statement. Let's do Control A, Control I for indentions. I think that fixes it. That looks better, right? That looks better. Okay, so we're going to take this whole if code here, copy that. This is the same code, really. No, it's not, because it's different. The selection code is the same, but the if statement's different. We probably need to it's 4 lines of code. I hate cut and pasting that code, and we might have to think about calling a function that does this instead. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's make a function that says following set selection. We're going to take in, we need to take in a menu item, right? Because we get the menu item for this. What is selection? That is the definition, but what is it? Yeah, it's a menu selection item. So we would say set selection. Selection is a navigation menu item. And then we're just going to say here, and then we're going to say here if we're going to take this code here. Okay. Oh, this is selection. Okay, that should fix that there. And now we can just do this set selection method. And now we don't have to cut and paste that code. So we can say if this set selection. And we're going to say selection. And now we only have to copy one line of code. And I feel better about myself for not doing cut and paste here. And where was the other one? Right here's the other one. And now we can just put our comments in down here. We're going to say here, we can dock this. Checks platform and sets navigation based on if we are using split view or navigation stack. All right. So that's that should fix this. So let's go ahead and check this real quick. Notify usually streams on Thursdays, right? Where I don't see him online right now. Let me just check Twitch and see if he's online or not, because usually I grade him when I'm done, and I'm almost done for tonight. I'll go a little bit longer if he's not on. He is on. So it didn't post a Slack for some reason. So that's what's going on. I usually watch for the Slack posts in the live streams channel. That's what's going on. All right, folks. About an hour ago, he said he's still setting up and will be at 30 minutes. Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense to me now. I do see him online. He's got one person. I think we're going to raid him once we default or check this, make sure that I didn't break this code. So if we go here, iPhone shouldn't change. But if we debug this on iPad, it should work. And now this gives us some stuff to work on Sunday. Because on Sunday night, what we'll go through is we'll get the navigation stack working for iPhone specifically. Because we'll have to use the navigation pop and push to get iPhone working. Because it's still a regular navigation stack in iPhone. So this should go... Well, that's not what I wanted. Running on iPhone. So look at that. So see, even though I've got the... Do I have that backwards maybe? So I'm getting a message running on iPhone. We're not running compact. I have to check here to see. Oh, there he goes. There he goes live. Okay, let's see. I don't believe our AI overloads anymore. What are the SwiftUI horizontal? We want the sizes. That's what we're looking for. So we want to know for SwiftUI what is the horizontal size class for didn't auto post. There's the problem. Yeah, I'm going to rate him in a second here. I'm just going to see if I can figure this out real quick here. Horizontal size class for iPad. And this is when we're in portrait mode. What is the current orientation for this? So what is they're saying here. iPad, regular and regular. That's what they're saying. Yeah, I get that. But that poop's not working. That shit's not working. I'm gonna just say it now. Because I have regular set and it's still thinking that it's an iPhone. Back deploy. Okay, let's see what it's saying here. Horizontal size class. All right. In macOS and tvOS, it's always regular. In watchOS, it's always compact. Well, that shit ain't helping me. Good Apple documentation. Guys, come on. So I'm seeing that that's not the case here, because I'd say if the class is compact and the vertical class is regular, because this would be for a long screen iPhone, it's saying iPhone. So it's saying that the horizontal class is compact. Well, that's not possible. I'm in landscape portrait view, for Christ's sakes. Horizontal should be huge. And vertical should be should barely be regular, right? On an iPad, when we're on an iPad here, this is huge. This is horizontal. It's huge. It's definitely not compact. And this down here, compared to these devices, this should be compact. It should be vertical. That's compact. Well, let's see what their values are, real quick. No, I think we're gonna call it a night. We'll rate over. I'm getting a little frustrated, and I could tell because of my voice that I'm just getting frustrated. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right in the world. What's going on here? So let's go see what those two values are. So if we look here, if we go to self, horizontal says it's what? Horizontal says it is compact. It's full of shit. In that its vertical slice is regular. That is so full of shit that it's not funny. Let's just do this real quick. Run it again, see what it says. What does it think it is now? Compact and regular. That is so full of shit. I don't. That's got to be a bug. That literally has got to be a bug. There is no possible way that the horizontal class, when an iPad is vertical, when it is in landscape mode, that is compact. That is not compact. That's a bug. This is literally a bug. There is no literally possible way in my mind that this is not a bug. That this is because, I mean, in UIKit, that is not how this works. And this is just using the same kind of code I would use in UIKit. I am now convinced in my right mind that is literally a bug that I need to file with Apple, that this is not working. So then we're back to, are we going to use UIKit as a hack and say, UIKit, is this an iPad in all this shit, right? Because that's the only way to do this. And if this bug exists, I don't know how else to, if the size classes aren't going to work, I can't rely on them to get my app working. God, that is super duper frustrating. That it thinks that it's compact when it's not. This is very clearly not compact, folks. Let's just Google this real quick here. And I'm actually using sidebar, so I'm using split view, and well, that's definitely not what's happening to me. That's definitely not what I'm looking for either. All right, folks, you know what? I'm wasting time here. I need to research this offline, off the stream here, and figure out what's going on here a little bit, and report back to you like my findings, because obviously this is some kind of weird thing. I'm gonna raid Notify here and see what he's up to. I'm not sure what he's up to. Let's find out though. I'm gonna switch over to his stream and watch him for a little while, and maybe I'll research this. So let me I'm gonna raid over to Notify. Raid and Notify. I have to turn my volume up. It's